Now we compare the three that we were discussing about. Starting off with, the three will be the Arduino Uno, the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, and the BeagleBone Black. Category is this. We'll be looking at the category structure, the system on chip, SoC, and central processing unit, CPU. We'll be looking at memory, input-output modules, and size, and there's more on the next page, but first let's go through these specifications. Category-wise, the Arduino Uno is a microcontroller, and the other two are single-board microcomputers. SoC and CPU category. The Arduino uses a 60 MHz at Mega 328, and we've already looked at that module. The Raspberry Pi 3 Model B uses a Broadcom SoC and an ARM Cortex CPU, which is at 1.2 GHz. And the architecture is based on a quad-core unit. The BeagleBone Black is based on a ARM Cortex A8, and it has a single-core unit. Then we go to the memory units. Typically, you can see SRAM and also LPDDR2 and micro SDHC support units that are used in the Raspberry Pi. And similar units are used, but the BeagleBone Black has the DDR, the megabytes, 512 megabytes, DDR3 technology included as well. So you can see some options and differences, which are quite different in memory scope. Then you have the input-output. In the Arduino Uno, you have 14 digital GPIO interfaces, and you have 6 10-bit analog inputs. When you go to the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, it has 40 digital GPIO units and 4 USB 2.0 interfaces. The BeagleBone Black has 69 GPIOs, and it has 4 UART, serial, and 8 PWM modes. Size-wise, look at this. Overall, the smallest one is the Arduino Uno, and it has the smallest structure as in terms of dimensions, and also the weight is the lightest. Then when you look at it in terms of weight, then the BeagleBone Black is lighter than the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. And when you look at the dimension of the size, they are somewhat similar between the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B and the BeagleBone Black. There are more features that we need to look into, which lead to this page: operating system, audio, video, network, and price. These are so important features. Operating system. The Arduino Uno uses the Arduino IDE, and we've already talked about that. The Raspberry Pi 3 Model B uses Linux. That's the Raspbian. That is a very attractive option. Then comes the BeagleBone Black, which uses Unix and Windows. When it comes to Unix, it is the Ubuntu, the Debian, and the Android. These options are very attractive, just looking at the Linux-based, but also the Windows are included. Then we have audio, in which the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B has a 3.5 millimeter analog and HDMI interface. Then the BeagleBone Black has a micro HDMI. Having the HDMI interfaces compared to the Arduino Uno not having one is a big difference, and one of the determining factors which one we will use. Then the video interfaces. Yet again, the Arduino Uno, if you want video support, you need to have a separate unit supporting it. Whereas the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B has HDMI and the BeagleBone Black has micro HDMI interfaces. This is very useful. However, if you want HDMI and video support, evidently the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B and the BeagleBone Black become attractive. But what if you don't need audio? And what if you don't need video? And you just want to create a small, lightweight, low energy consuming IoT module? Then you evidently can find where the Arduino Uno will be an attractive mode. However, if you want audio and video support, then evidently the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B as well as the BeagleBone Black will definitely become your primary options in selection. Are there any other critical selection options? Yep, and that's the networking. this is probably maybe one of the most important determining factors in selecting a mode. The Arduino Uno, typically, as you can see here, is not that fully capable of wired or wireless Ethernet or other options. However, the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, this is one of the most significant determining factors on why people will select this module. Bluetooth 4.1, BLE, also Ethernet connections, and 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi based upon 802.11n. Oh my, this is so attractive. If you want to use this, then this becomes your attractive component. These specifications alone tell you that the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B is why you would select it if you're looking at your smartphone to become its remote controller and monitor. Because your smartphone has Bluetooth, your smartphone has BLE, your smartphone has Wi-Fi. So automatically your smartphone can be a remote controller and monitor, and even a data interface collector for your Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, if that is your selection mode. And that is one of the reasons that it is so popular. Then comes the BeagleBone Black, which is connectable to wired Ethernet. Both the 10 base T and the 100 base T, supporting both 10 megabits per second and 100 megabits per second, becomes its option. So in a desktop or development environment where you can put it on your table in front of you and program it, these Ethernet connections become so useful and so attractive. So that is why it is so popular. And when it comes to 10 base T and 100 base T Ethernet connections, supporting both 10 megabits per second and 100 megabits per second Ethernet, both the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B and the BeagleBone Black have this connection supported inside. So overall, when it comes down to network connectivity, the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B is the most popular selection option. When you look at price-wise, that's where the advantage of the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B is shown. Because you can see that the Arduino Uno and the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B don't have a significant difference in cost. One is about $30, $29.95 for the Arduino Uno, but for the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, it's about $35. Now, but then again, you get all these different data interfaces, both wireless and wired, and also you get audio and video interfaces as well. So that is what makes the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B so popular. But then on the other side, the BeagleBone Black has a cost of $55, but it has significant processing capability at higher cost. It supports audio and video. In addition, the operating system, which becomes your development platform, supports both Windows, Linux based upon Android, Debian, and Ubuntu. And this becomes a very, very programmable, option-wise, attractive mode. These are the references that I used, and I highly recommend them to you. There's more to come. This was just a tip of the iceberg in terms of IoT technology. So hang in there, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.